I love what you said about competence, bringing confidence. So many salespeople go into it thinking like that act as if mentality.
Sales is a skill game first. Competence, skill. If you work on your skills first, your confidence goes up. We do it in reverse. We're like, just go take 1,000 swings at the range. You'll figure it out. That's the wrong way to develop salespeople.
For the first time on the Lessons from Last Time podcast, we have a perfect wardrobe match with my guest this week, which is Justin Tucker, also referred to as JT. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
I got to call this out because when I woke up this morning, I was looking for something to wear for this. And I remembered you told me that this was the new trend, that we got to go hoodie under a sport coat. And so I did it, knowing you would do the same thing.
See, I really feel good that you would think ahead because we did not plan this. Like,
not one bit.
I got up, I put this on in the morning, walked in, I was like, Ken, yes, like you're embracing the trend. I love it.
It totally works. And I'm all in on it too. I think it's awesome. I was already moving towards these hoodie t-shirts.
Yep.
So now this is now we're classing it up.
Yeah, it's like you can still be casual, but like just up a little bit, just up a notch.
Yeah. So you joined me on the podcast already once. This is where you're coming back because you were one of our highest rated podcasts.
Oh, that's great to hear.
It was awesome, but also because we talked a lot about the marketing side of things and tech and stuff like that. We didn't really get into sales back then. And so I want to pull up some stories from your past. You're a leader in sales for a very large company.
Yeah. About 8 months ago, took a new position with Fidelity National Financial, FNF, to run their residential sales strategy division. So I just started that, and the whole focus is around sales, but the strategy side of sales, which was really fun.
I wrote down how many sales reps and how many brands. I want to say it was 55 brands or something like that.
Yeah, so FNF is actually the market leader in the title space. We close about 40% of the transactions that happen nationally. And on our direct side, which is where my focus is, we have anywhere between 1,700 and 2,000 sales reps, 300 sales managers, and then 74 brands.
74 brands.
We have a really interesting model, which is to run multiple brands because those brands are what are connected in the community. For a big national company, for a Fortune 300 company, they really understand the autonomy and entrepreneurship, like being connected in the local community. And so we do that by, when we acquire companies, allowing them to keep their brand and their brand voice and the story that connects to that specific market. So it's a really, really cool strategy.
Wow. So there's the end point and where you are right now. Let's take you back, because was sales always your thing?
It's where I started. Yeah,
Okay.
I think on our last interview, we talked about strategy a lot. And I said, I started off as a sales guy, and then I went back to school and got my marketing degree. And then I thought I was a marketing guy. And then I actually got an opportunity to build and project manage some technology. So then I thought, oh, no, I'm a technologist. And at the end of the day, I realized, no, I'm actually a strategist. And those are the three things that I use. Hence the term and the name of the department I'm building, which is sales strategy, because strategy is collaborative in nature. It's curious. It's not sales leadership. It's not sales management. It's sales strategy. But the root of where I started and built those other skills was on the sales side.
Do you think sales is inherent in people? Like I used to say, I could teach you the content. I could teach you when I was bringing on new loan officers as a trainer way back in the day in the 1900s.
Yeah.
I would say, give me a person who's naturally good with people and I can teach them all the skill stuff. Like I can teach them what a mortgage is. I can teach them, how to manage a database, whatever. But if you can give me somebody who can talk to people, that sales, that inherent sales piece, is that what you think? Like it's inherent?
I don't. I mean, you're going to find out that I'm more often than not the contrarian. Like I take the opposite stance on a lot of things. And I think my experience in sales is the perfect example. I got my first sales job with actually Fidelity National Financial, Fidelity National Title 25 odd years ago. And believe it or not, like I had spiky blonde tips. Like I was wearing my pink tie around and I was driving around going from office to office and failing miserably. Honestly,
Wow.
I was a really, really horrible salesperson. And I pulled off to the side of the road one day and I called my mom actually. And I was like, hey, look, I don't know if I can do this. And she's like, well, why don't you reach out to your sales manager and just let him know how you're feeling? That's a gentleman named Jeff Mucci. And Mucci ended up spending some time with me on finding my niche, finding my thing. And once I found that, I kind of believe in this whole like competence builds confidence. Once I found that, sales took off for me. So at the time, that was social media. Facebook had just become a thing. You used to have a college email address to have a Facebook account. And so I just started teaching Facebook for realtors, and that just led into so many other things. But once I found my niche, I was able to develop. So I don't necessarily believe that sales is innate. Now, if you have some of those innate characteristics, are you better suited for it? Yes. Is it a quicker path to success? Yes. But in most ways, I'm actually a very social, like I'm a social introvert. I'm very introverted, but because of that, I notice a lot. I pick up on the cues. I see how people respond to things. I have a good feel for reading energy in a room. So I would say I am not a natural salesperson. And now here I am, leading one of the biggest sales or collaborating with one of the biggest sales organizations in our space.
Wow. I don't want to move too fast past this because I love what you said about competence, bringing confidence. And I think so many salespeople go into it thinking like that act as if mentality, just, show up and pretend, and I hate that.
Yeah, me too. I think sales is a skill game first. And going back to that contrarian side of things, I've had a lot of mentors in my past, and some of those mentors have taught me what to do, and some of those mentors have taught me what not to do. And I think that the laziness of our industry is to just tell people to make more calls. You just got to make more calls if you make more calls. Well, the analogy I use is if I went to the driving range and I sat there with a bucket of balls and I kept taking the same bad swing over and over and over and over, I'm inevitably not going to get better. But you get, a coach, you take some lessons, and then you end up being able to develop. So to your point, I think that we have a world in which people are taught the wrong things. And if we can start teaching them the right things, then they can grow. So competence, skill. If you work on your skills first, your confidence goes up, then the tone in your voice, your body posture, all that other changes, and things change. And we do it in reverse. We're like, just go take 1,000 swings at the range. You'll figure it out. I just think that's the wrong way to develop salespeople.
Dude, people keep saying, because I golf a lot, and people keep going, oh, you're golfing so much, you must be getting better. And I'm like, that's not how it works.
It's not how it works.
No.
Yep.
Totally right. I wish I was getting better. I also am really bad at chipping. I'm supposed to stop saying that because your brain listens to you.
Now there's your swing thought over and over.
Yeah, just don't let me chunk it. But it's so funny because I was talking to a guy the other day and I'm like, I'm just bad at chipping. He's like, well, how often do you practice? And I'm like, I don't. And he's like, well, maybe that's the thing. Like we don't practice.
Well, and do you know Doug Mendenhall?
Yeah.
So Doug is someone I respect at a really, really high level. And he said this to me probably 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And it's really stuck in my brain, which is the only thing we know for sure is that practice makes permanent. It does not make perfect. And it's perfect practice makes the right things happen. So I would also argue that a lot of times, again, we will tell people to just go repeat a mistake over and over and over and then hope that they eventually figure it out on their own. That's why I'm such a big believer in being coached or finding mentors or connecting to people who can teach you things that you don't know, because then you can start practicing those habits. And I have a lot of really important mentors in my life on the sales side of things.
On that, let's talk about Mucci, that moment for you when he said, wait, let's talk about it. Can you walk me through that conversation? Because a lot of people don't know how to get to that piece that they actually are really good at or that they can build.
Yeah. So I would break sales leadership down into 3 areas. I would say it's motivation, accountability, and skill development. And motivation, can you keep people optimistic? Don't build a culture of fear and failure. Can you get them to see a vision of what they're trying to achieve? Can you keep their brain engaged? Because sales is hard. You're going to be told no a lot. So Mucci was a great motivator. Then you have accountability. Can you actually outline people's expectations? Can you hold them accountable to things that they wouldn't hold themselves accountable? Because in sales, it's really easy to avoid the things you don't want to do. I think you could take most salespeople's day, take 30 or 40% of it, wad it up into a ball and throw it in a trash can because there were things that didn't actually matter. And then you get to that last one, which is skill development. I think that's the hardest one because if you're a sales leader, you have to actually know how to read someone, see where they're at, and then help them grow their skills. And the analogy that I would use for that, it's if you and I went to the gym today and we both hired a personal trainer. That personal trainer is going to have the same philosophies, overarching philosophies, but they're probably going to start you and me at very different places in our fitness journey. So for Mucci, he knew at that moment he needed to do two things for me. One, motivate me because I was down. I'm walking into these offices, no one wants to talk to me. I'm like, I'm just sitting there talking to them about how their weekend was. Like, it's not working. And then two, he knew he needed to give me a direction on developing my skills. And when he asked me the right questions and we got to this thing of like, well, you know Facebook, right? Yeah. I had to have it when I was in college, mostly to like get class notes or to pick up on girls. But yeah, like I know what it is. Oh, well, now you don't need a college email address. It's an actual thing. And people are curious about it. And since you have competence in it, why don't you put together a class and then go out and start teaching that class? And it flipped the entire paradigm for me because now I was standing up in front of people as a subject matter expert in something that I knew more about than they did.
Mm-hmm. I just did this workshop in Colorado for a company, and it was so funny because there's this one guy who I had them give presentations. So we did some presentation skill stuff in the afternoon. I had him give a presentation. And he's a Gen Z person,
Okay.
A person from that generation. And he gets up and he gives this speech about Gen Z and why they're not buying houses and what we could do to communicate better with them. And I looked at him and I said, you need to give this speech everywhere. Because like that guy's a loan officer. And as a loan officer, you can keep asking for people's business all you want. But if you go out there and educate them, and he said some stuff I didn't know, but as he was saying it, I'm like, wait a second, that's my kids.
Yeah.
Like he's
right.
like, we don't need the biggest house in the neighborhood. We need a house. Like all we want is to get into that, And as he's talking, I'm like, everybody should hear this. And for him, that's his sales. It's be the expert and work on that. And then, the business comes.
Yeah, I would, because my path led to me doing a lot of public speaking. In fact, we actually just recently got to share the stage,
which
was super fun. But I say a lot to salespeople, be the speaker, not the person who introduces the speaker.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're the one standing up and delivering expertise, people are just going to see you in a different light. So in that example, that person found an area of expertise, a place that they're competent, a place that they're probably passionate about. And being able to stand up and deliver that is going to change the way the entire room sees you.
Yeah. I went to the National Speakers Association conference years and years and years ago with two really good friends. And we get there and I looked at the agenda and one of the items was choosing your topic you're going to speak on.
Yeah.
And I was so offended by it. I literally haven't been a member since then because I was so offended. Like I thought speaking was I have something to talk about. How do I get that out there? Well, to go stand in front of people and talk. Like that's literally what I do. I don't look for a topic to speak on. I'm passionate about something and then I go speak. Yeah. And so it's funny because this isn't something where you would say to a salesperson, oh, just go be a speaker. Like you would, like what Jeff did for you is you seem to be doing this Facebook thing pretty well. Maybe, people need that. So maybe you should polish that up and deliver.
Yeah, well, and I mean, now we're going down the path of speaking, which is a component of sales. And I always smirk when people say sales, like it feels like such a naughty word, like a dirty word,
totally.
Like, oh, you're in sales. But what he then helped me do was build a presentation and deliver it. And my first presentation was absolutely awful.
Was it really?
It was absolutely
Okay, I want to hear about this.
Okay, so it was in an area called Mall 205.
Oh, so the high end.
Yeah, high end real estate at a place called Papa's Pizza, which is right on brand.
Oh,
for
perfect.
Me.
So yeah, early days of the pizza.
I had 17 real estate agents show up, and I had never done any public speaking. And I was nervous the whole night before, and I was writing notes down on my hand, and practicing, and I absolutely bombed. And I wanted to then not do it anymore. And the thing that Mucci did for me there, which pulls into the third layer, accountability, he held me accountable to doing it again and again and again and again. And now public speaking is one of my favorite things that I do, but I had to get through those iterations of failure to get to a place where I found my rhythm, I found my voice, I, honed in the topic. And so I'll give him a lot of credit there to help me through that process.
What was bad about it? Like what's bombing look like for you?
Well, so there's a lot more to this story. So take aside the fact that like I did not deliver well. I was just nervous. You could hear it in my voice. I lost my place, like those types of things. But there was actually a bank robbery that happened.
Oh my gosh.
And we're in Papa's Pizza and it's full of windows. And so the car chased for the bank robbery ended up in the parking lot of Papa's Pizza. And the cops got out of their cars and drew their guns. And now me and my audience, my 17 real estate agents, were in the direct line of sight. So we all had to lay on the ground. So at least I was memorable, right? It was a memorable opportunity for me to deliver. So yeah, it couldn't have gone worse in so many different ways.
I did not expect that. Like I had heard the story of you. I didn't know that was your first speech that you did.
Yep. My monthly seminar series at Papa's Pizza. That was my first interaction. Yep.
My first big speech ever is when I forgot to turn the mic off when I ran to the restroom and the entire room was quiet. 75 people in a room in Spokane, all silent, making notes. And that was my first, first bomb.
Wonderful.
But I played it off pretty well and it worked, but you can't go with the first one didn't work. And so you stop.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this on the last time we got together on this podcast, which is iteration. Like the quicker you can get through iteration. Ironically, I actually have a pretty interesting model, iterative model for sales. I look at sales like a flywheel, and I think at the top of sales, you have insights. Insights, what is the data saying to you? What trends can you find in that information? And data leads to the second part of that flywheel, which is strategy. Okay, then what do you do with it? Like you have this insight, now you have to build a plan, you have to do something with it. And then after you have strategy, you have empowerment. And I'm very precise with the words that I choose. I am so sick of people saying sales enablement. Enablement to me is a bare minimum. Enablement to me has negative connotation. Like you're an enabler, right? And empowerment, we're very intentional about calling it sales empowerment. That's where you get to execution. And when you execute, what happens? You get new data, which leads to new insight, which leads to new strategy, which leads to more execution. And the faster you can iterate through that, the more likelihood you have, the higher chance you have of success. But you also have an ability to stay relevant because things change so quickly. And you can run a flywheel as a company. Hey, here's what we're doing nationally. What's all the data say? You can run a flywheel in a market. This market is nuanced compared to this market. And so we have to understand that what happens in Scottsdale and Camas are very different. And you can run that same flywheel as an individual. What's happening in my world with what's going on around me?
I love that. How do you deal with, you've been through now 25 years. So you've been through 2 solid downturns. The most recent one, probably, in my opinion, worse than the first one. I need this answer so badly. When you look at a market that's down and your salespeople come to you and go, well, it's the market that's down. They're kind of right. And my response is, so did anybody close deals this month? Like, are there any deals being closed? Then let's go after those. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, a bad market, I would think there are 2 things that really pop to mind with a bad market. The first one is you acquire market share in a bad market. It is so much easier to differentiate yourself when there's less volume because people are actually paying more attention to their buying decision. If you go back to, COVID in 2020, it's like we were all just trying to stay awake and get through the day, and people just wanted to get their loan closed. And so it was much harder to differentiate from that side of things. So this is the time to put all of your practices in place. It's to add new skills. It's to refine those elements of your business that you would put off when you were too busy. The second thing is I actually think through that differentiation, you build stronger bonds and stronger connections with people so that you're preparing for when that market grows. And so we'll actually use a metric when I know your volume is going to be down. We'll use a metric to say, did you outperform the market? So let's say I'm a $2 million sales rep. And now I'm a $1.5 million sales rep. And you just think, oh, my numbers are down. What I would say to you is, okay, well, that's a 25% decline in your business. Did the market decline more than 25%? And if the market declined 40% and you're only down 25%, you're beating the market. that's something you should celebrate.
And so then you kick into motivation mode, like you said, right? That's part of leadership is now I need to motivate you to go, it's going to be okay. Now they're making less at that point though, right? Yeah. And so you've also got to say, I mean, do you have the more difficult conversations of what's your runway look like? Like how long do you have at this income level? Should we be concerned?
Those conversations happen a lot less in the title space because people are employees. Versus kind of the independent contractor status.
Oh, now it's like, how long can we last with you not producing that?
But no, I mean, yeah, I think with the right people that you have those bonds and relationships with. I mean, here's my thing on sales. I think that the best salespeople and the best sales leaders don't sound like salespeople. Right. And so what you just explained to me there would be if I'm with a rep and they're struggling and I have that type of a relationship and connection, yeah, I'm going to have that human conversation with them. And I just think we have all of these really bad habits and rules that have been developed over the years of how we're supposed to interact with salespeople and how we're supposed to coach them and how we're supposed to hold them accountable. And I think most of them, excuse my language, I think most of them are bullshit.
Do you think there's a moment when somebody can't come back where in sales, they're beat up?
That's an interesting question. Like, I don't know, sports analogy, like they have the yips.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, that's where I think the intrinsic side of someone comes into account. Like, what is their grit? How much are they willing to persevere? And I think if you give them the support that they need and they're still not able to get there, then you have to have tougher conversations. Sorry, I'm getting way too into the weeds here, but
I love it. No.
I actually look at sales reps or salespeople on like 4 quadrants. And so if you look at the upper right-hand quadrant, I would say high acumen, high effort. Those are people that I just need to stay out of their way, solve problems for them, maybe give them suggestions on how to scale, but their effort is high and their achievement is high and life is good. You go to the bottom left, the opposite of that, you have low effort, low achievement. And those are people who aren't working hard and are not getting results. And in a lot of cases, like those are people that maybe shouldn't be in sales because they're not even giving you the effort. If you go to the top left quadrant, you have high achievement, low effort. They have the skills, but they're not as motivated. And those are the ones that I think you spend time trying to motivate. You're like, look, you have this, you have the skills, you're able to close, you're successful, you do all these things really well. We just got to get your activity up. And then I have high effort, low achievement. Those are people who are working their tails off. They're grinding, they're putting in the time, but they're not getting the outcome. Those are people who usually need training. Are you talking to the right people? What's your day look like? Can we add some skills that maybe help you close more meetings? And so I usually am plotting someone in that, and that's how I'm reading, like, can you get back from being low effort, low achievement? I don't know. Very rarely do I see someone move into another quadrant from low effort, low achievement.
That top left quadrant is funny because when I first got in the mortgage industry, I was like, how many loans can we do? And they're like, all of them. And I'm like, okay, there's no limit to how many loans. How much money can I make? And they're like, as much as you want. And I'm like, I will make all the money. Like, I'm very motivated I'm very motivated for whatever I can get, right? And I would get in, I would notice that people have a nut to crack in their bills every month, right? They've got a certain amount of money they need to make. People would make that amount of money and stop working.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? Like, we can make all the money.
We can go make more. Yeah. You realize they'll give you more. You just need more.
It's just so funny that people don't see above that, what they need. Yep. And it's like, no, now's the time we do, because there's going to be a time when this is way harder for you. And I want to stock that money away. So in those times it can be, less stressful, but some people just reach like, okay, we're good.
Yeah. There's a kind of tangential to this. There's a really awesome quote that is like, your effort sets your floor, your strategy sets your ceiling. And I think like, the more you raise your effort, the more you raise your floor, but the more strategic you are, the more you raise your ceiling. If a person in that side of things is just thinking about, well, I need to get to this nut to crack and then I'm going to stop, the conversation I would have with them then is, okay, we've reached an effort plateau for you. Could we think of some systems and some things that we could do in that same amount of effort that might allow you to do more? Like, we're going to work more on the strategy side, the system side, the process side.
Mm-hmm. One other big question I have for you is, So you went sales, marketing, tech. You've kind of been around. You're now a sales leader. One of the biggest things I've seen, especially in this industry, but across industries, somebody sells a bunch and then we go, great, you're going to be a manager. Yeah. And so for you, how did you, I mean, you're a leader. So like it feels easy when I watch the way that you work. I watch who you are, your personal brand. You are a leader. How do you get the person who's in sales and like, well, of course I need that next bump. Like of course I need to be a manager. How do you stop getting rid of your best salesperson by giving them tasks they're not actually great at?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting question. I think being introspective is the key to that, and having very real conversations with people who want to take that leadership step and ask them like, why? Why do you want to take it? Is it just that society has created this feeling that you need the next step and you need the next title? Is it because you believe that that title also has an ancillary revenue stream because now you can make more money because you have people underneath you? It's asking those types of questions. And if you truly don't have a servant's heart, like if you don't want to make people better, I would really advocate that you just continue to be a producer, because when you get into sales leadership, you're no longer the hero, you're the hero maker. Your job is to help elevate other people. And so I just think that a lot of times people have a false idea of what it means to get into sales leadership, or they think that they want the title that goes along with it, but not the responsibility and the people that you're going to be entrusted to serve.
Mm-hmm. I had a conversation a long time ago with a guy in sales trying to move into management. And I was like, dude, management and sales is the first one getting fired. And you're getting fired for something you don't totally control. And in sales, if you get fired, it's for something you could have controlled. Yeah. Very different.
Yeah, I mean, I used to judge myself on how many orders I brought in, and now I judge myself on how many people's lives I'm able to impact. And you look at some of the greats, you know, the Magic Johnsons, the Larry Birds, they were actually really bad coaches because they didn't know how to teach people to do what they did. They just did it. And so I do think, lessons from last time, I do think one of the reasons that I excel, or I think I excel at sales leadership, is because I started out not being a great salesperson. And so I have the ability to dissect what's going on and break it down and relate to people and know how it was making me feel. Sometimes those top producers, which I inevitably became, but sometimes those top producers, it is something that's so innate that they can't teach other people how to do it. They're like, I just do it. Right. Like I just network. I just make the calls. They just send me loans. This is amazing. And the key to sales leadership isn't how you handle your top producers. That's very important, but it's how you develop people into top producers. And that is understanding where they're at and what needs to happen to get them to where they want to be.
It's so hard. My wife and I have talked a lot about this. She's a ADHD specialist in the largest therapy company in America. And she trains all these therapists on how to diagnose. And so we were talking about it. I'm like, you forget as you grow in your knowledge, you forget where the baseline's at.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, well, of course you would know this. And then you say something, somebody's like, that's amazing. You're like, no, that's not amazing. That's like, but once you've been doing it a long time, once you've learned a ton, it's hard to go back and remember maybe those skills are more basic than I thought.
Well, and so it's interesting that you say that. So I had a manager in my past, and this manager hadn't sold for 30 or 40 years. And he would stand up in front of a room full of salespeople, and he would start telling them, stories and anecdotes from his past as if that's what all of them should be doing. And now you can unpack that. There were some lessons in the story, but if you take it at face value, telling someone to just drive around to offices, go in and help people read their title report is not going to be a very effective sales strategy. And so the point I want to make here is I have a very healthy fear of being irrelevant. And so to do that, I still sell every single day. I still have my book of business. I still have my clients that I call on.
Really?
I still pick up the phone and cold call.
What?
Absolutely. 100%. Because I don't ever want to forget what goes into that. And so I think sometimes what happens, and you said, they forget the baseline. I think what happens is people who end up in sales leadership stop selling and start telling everyone else what they should be doing. And eventually you become irrelevant in that model. And so I sell every single day. I make the tough calls myself. I see how the clients are changing so that the perspective that I'm giving people is still accurate and meaningful. And so from that perspective, I think it helps me not fall into that trap, which is like, oh, I forgot the 3,000 things I did to get here. It's like, no, I had to make a cold call. I got turned down yesterday too. And here's how that made me feel. And here's what I'm going to do next with it. That type of stuff, I think, helps you avoid that pitfall.
Dude, one of my favorite things you've said this whole time is I have a healthy fear of being irrelevant. And I'm blown away how few people have that fear. That's a massive fear of mine. Like, I have to know more than everybody. I have to know where everything's going. I have to know what the next thing is. That's why I'm so fascinated, and you are too, with AI. Like, what can we use AI for? And recently heard from some loan officers that were like, this AI thing, like, this is such a waste of our time to be talking about AI. And I went, oh, I feel for you, because your future isn't great. Like, you can't not pay attention to those things that are changing. And I love your story of the person who's talking about skills that used to happen, way before social media, before, like, everything's changed. You can't go back. There are good stories and there are good lessons in those stories, but what's happening right now? What are we concerned about right now? What are we concerned about today? And if you just walked out of an office, you're like, guys, I just heard this from this office. You're part of their world.
Yep. I mean, how many times have you reinvented yourself? How many times have I reinvented myself throughout the years to stay relevant? And I think the people who continue to thrive and persevere know how to respect and pay homage to the past without becoming a prisoner to it. Like, sometimes you become permanent, and that is a recipe for disaster. So I try to stay open, introspective. I love being shown new things. I'm going to look at those things with an objective eye. I'm going to be curious about it. But you have to find ways to stay relevant. And if you don't, you are going to end up in a place where what you were doing is no longer working because the world around us has changed. We don't market in the yellow pages anymore. We just don't.
Are there yellow pages still?
I don't know. Online, I think.
I think there's yellow pages online.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much. I love that you also said curious at the very end, because that's what I tell people is you just have to stay curious. Like, why? My mom always says, ask why 9 or 10 times before you stop thinking about something. Like, okay, why did that not work? Why did they not, and you've got to.
Yeah, I mean, I say curiosity and elbow grease. If you have a little bit of curiosity and you're willing to put in the work, we live in a wonderful world today where you can get access to any type of information. And so if you're curious and you're willing to put in the work, you can develop any skill you want to develop.
So good. We're ending on that. Dude, thank you so much for coming out again. This was very, very helpful. I think people will really love this. And congratulations on your role over at Fidelity National Financial.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken.